ललिता श्रीविशाखामृतांश्च नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिनिति नामने नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम हरे हरे। शास्त्राब्दि पीयूष सर्ववेदैक सत्फल सर्व सिद्धांत रत्नाढ्य सर्वलोकैक त्रिप्रद सर्वभागवत प्राण श्रीमद्भागवत प्रभु कलिध्वांतोदितादित्य श्रीकृष्ण परिवर्तित परमानंद पाठाय प्रेमवर्षक्षराय ते सर्वदा सर्वसेव्याय श्रीकृष्णाय नमोस्तुमे मदेक बंधो मत्संगिन मद्गुरो मन्महाधन मन्निस्तारक मद्भाग्य मदानंद नमोस्तुते असाधु साधुता दायन नतिनी चौच्यताकर आनमुंच गदाचिन्मां प्रेमणा हरिकंठयोस्फुरा। ओम भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। 7, 6. Okay. ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। Text 6. अनर्थोपशमं साक्षात् भक्ति योगम अधोक्षजे लोकस्याजानतो विद्वांस चक्रे सात्वत संहिता। The material miseries of the living entity which are superfluous to him can be directly mitigated by the linking process of devotion service, but the mass of people do not know this, and therefore the learned Vyasadeva compiled this Vedic literature which is in relation to the supreme truth. And Vyasadeva then saw Bhakti Yoga, direct Bhakti Yoga to Adhokshaja, which neutralizes the anarthas. And after seeing all of this, for the sake of ignorant people, he composed this Vaishnava literature known as Sri Bhagavata. So in these 3 verses, the meaning of Bhagavatam has been briefly pointed out. This is the point. The Supreme Lord is omniscient and omnipotent, and he always manifests his supremely blissful nature. He is a controller of Maya by utilizing his potency of spiritual knowledge. Through that Maya, the Jivatma the Jivatma's nature is covered up due to bewilderment, and the Jivatma exhibits an opposite nature. By devotional service to the Lord, he attains spiritual knowledge and he attains liberation. This has been stated by Vishnu Swami, Ladimya Samvitashlishta, Sachidananda Ishvara. Swavidya samvrito jiva sanklesha nirakaraha. The Lord is Sachidananda by nature and is embraced by his Hladini and Samvit potencies. The Jiva is enwrapped by his own ignorance, and therefore he becomes the source of great miseries of various types. Sa isho yad vashe maya sajivo yas tayarditaha. That person is the Lord under whose control Maya functions. And that person is the Jiva who is tormented by that Maya. Swavirbhuta Parananda Swavirbhuta Surukha Bhu. One is filled with, one is always manifesting transcendental bliss. The other one is always manifesting extreme misery. स्वाद्रगुत्थ विपर्यास भाव भेदज भी शुचः. मन मायया जुषन्नास्ते तम इमंद्रि हरिम नुमः. Why is it man maya? It must be tan maya. Okay, just give me a minute. Just open the other version. So because the living entity is not able to see himself, he has attained a contrary nature and a feeling of material differentiation, which brings about fear and lamentation. I offer my obeisances unto Lord Nrihari. Why does it say Man Maya? Okay, just one. Let me just opening it. Let it come. Does it take forever? Okay.
In another reading that I have, it is Yan Maya. Yan Maya. Maya. Sorry. Yeah.
Where do you see it?
I see it in the one Hindi edition, Shiv Prasad Dwivedi.
And this Twadrig, or is it, what is it? Tarama, Twadrig.
Wait. Swabir Bhut Parananda, Swabir Bhut Sukh, sorry, Swabir Bhut Su Dukh Bhu, Swadrig.
Twadrig.
Yeah.
Utha viparyasa bhava bheda jabhishuchaha.
Sucha, yes.
And
Yan
then?
Maya, Jushnan Sate, Tamimam Niri Harim Numah.
Yan Maya Jushannaste Tamimam Nriharim Numaha. We offer our obeisances unto that Lord Nrihari, Nrsimha, by whose Maya the Jivatma is in this state of being in ignorance of himself and having developed a contrary nature and fear and lamentation born from material differentiation due to that contrary nature. Okay, let let's get back to this. This I should move it out. Srila Vyasadeva saw the all-perfect personality of Godhead. This statement suggests that the complete unit of the personality of Godhead includes his parts and parcels also. He saw, therefore, his different energies, namely the internal energy, the marginal energy, and the external energy. He also saw his different plenary portions and parts of the plenary portions, namely his different incarnations also. And he specifically observed the unwanted miseries of the conditioned souls who are bewildered by the external energy. And at last, he saw the remedial measure for the conditioned souls, namely the process of devotion service. It is a great transcendental science and begins with the process of hearing and chanting the name, fame, glory, etc. of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Revival of the dormant affection or love of Godhead does not depend on the mechanical system of hearing and chanting, but it solely and wholly depends on the causeless mercy of the Lord. When the Lord is fully satisfied with the sincere efforts of the devotee, he may endow him with his loving transcendental service. But even with the prescribed forms of hearing and chanting, there is at once mitigation of the superfluous and unwanted miseries of material existence. Such mitigation of material affection does not wait for development of transcendental knowledge. Rather, knowledge is dependent on devotion service for the ultimate realization of the supreme truth. 7. Yasyam vai shruyamanayam Krishne paramapurushe bhaktirutpadyate pumsah shokamoha bhayapaha. Mohan Radhapati Prabhu.
So this mechanical form of chanting, hearing, that thing. In the last verse. Revival of the dormant affection or love of Godhead does not depend on the mechanical system of hearing and chanting,
but it solely and wholly depends on the causeless mercy of the Lord. When the Lord is fully satisfied with the sincere efforts of the devotee, he may endow him with his loving transcendental service. What is the question?
What is the meaning of this mechanical system of hearing and chanting here?
We cannot we cannot capture Krishna just by the process, no? That's why we pray to him, and he's another person, he's not me, so he has to decide.
But it is naturally pleasing. Shravanam Kirtanam.
He's pleased with the attitude with which we engage in devotional service. We have the wrong attitude, then the right activity also will not fructify.
Okay.
Oh, so what should be our attitude?
The attitude should be that I want to please you, I want to engage in your devotion service, I want to get back to my original status. That should be our attitude. Okay, we'll move on. 7. Yasyam vai shruyamanayam Krishne paramapurushe bhaktirutpadyate pumsa shokamoha bhayapaha. Simply by one's giving oral reception to this Vedic literature, the feeling for loving devotion service to Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, sprouts up at once to extinguish the fire of lamentation, illusion, and fearfulness. One sannyasi pointed out that shoka, moha, bhaya, these are the characteristics of material existence. Shoka is about the past, moha is about the present, and bhaya is about the future. Samhitaya anatopashamakatvam darshayati. He then points out that Srimad Bhagavatam itself neutralizes the anarthas, the unwanted calamities of the living entity. Yasyam vai shruyam eva kim punah shrutayam ityarthaha. Even while hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, of course, with faith, what to speak of having heard the Srimad Bhagavatam, this effect is manifested. There are various senses of which the ear is the most effective. This sense works. Even when a man is deep asleep, one can protect himself from the hands of an enemy while awake. But while asleep, one is protected by the ear only. The importance of hearing is mentioned here in connection with attaining the highest perfection of life, namely getting free from 3 material pangs. Everyone is full of lamentation at every moment. He's after the mirage of illusory things and he's always afraid of his supposed enemy. These are the primary symptoms of the material disease. And it is definitely suggested herein that simply by hearing the message of Srimad Bhagavatam, one gets attachment for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. And as soon as this is affected, the symptoms of the material disease disappear. Srila Vyasadeva saw the all-perfect personality of Godhead. And in this statement, it is clearly confirmed that the all-perfect personality of Godhead is Sri Krishna. In other words, we earlier came across Purna Purusha. The Apashyat Purusham Purnam. He saw the absolute personality of Godhead. This is the all-perfect personality of Godhead. Okay. And then here we come across Krishna Paramapurushe. Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this confirms that Purna Purusha is the same as this Paramapurusha Krishna. The ultimate result of the... Okay, what is this? Somapati Prabhu has some question.
Prabhu, this Bhaya Shoka also mentioned in Bhagavad Gita and Gita Mahatmya Sloka 1. There also it says that simply by with regulated mind recites with devotion this Bhagavad Gita scripture, which is also frees from mundane qualities based on fear and lamentation.
How does the verse Gita Shastram idam punyam yah patet prayatah puman Vishnu padam avapnoti
Bhaya Shoka.
Bhaya Shokadi Varjitaha. Correct. There also it says that. Bhaya Shokadi Varjitaha.
So simply by reciting
No.
with devotion.
Gita Shastram idam punyam yah patet prayatah puman. Prayataha. While endeavoring with sincerity. Vishnu padam avapnoti Bhaya Shokadi Varjitaha. Is endeavoring means he's endeavoring to obey the Bhagavad Gita. The Bhagavad Gita brings us to the final point of surrender to Krishna. And it is surrender to Krishna which eradicates all this. That we saw in the previous verse, 6th verse here. That is why, here also. The ultimate result of devotion service is to develop genuine love for the Supreme Personality. Love is a word which is often used in relation with man and woman. And love is the only word that can be properly used to indicate the relation between Lord Krishna and the living entities. The living entities are mentioned as Prakriti in the Bhagavad Gita, and in Sanskrit, Prakriti is a feminine object. The Lord is always described as the Parama Purusha, or the Supreme Male Personality. Thus, the affection between the Lord and the living entities is something like that between the male and the female. Therefore, the term love of Godhead is quite appropriate. Bhakti, love of Godhead in this context. Loving devotion service to the Lord begins with hearing about the Lord. There is no difference between the Lord and the subject matter heard about Him. The Lord is absolute in all respects, and thus there is no difference between Him and the subject matter heard about Him. Therefore, hearing about Him means immediate contact with Him by the process of vibration of the transcendental sound. And the transcendental sound is so effective that it acts at once by removing all material affections mentioned above. As mentioned before, a living entity develops a sort of complexity by material association, and the illusory encasement of the material body is accepted as an actual fact. Under such false complexity, the living beings under different categories of life become illusioned in different ways. Different categories of life means in Sattoguna, Rajaguna, Tamoguna, and any mixture. Even in the most developed stage of human life, the same illusion prevails in the form of many isms and divides the loving relation with the Lord, and thereby divides the loving relation between man and man. By hearing the subject matter of Srimad Bhagavatam, this false complexity of materialism is removed and real peace in society begins, which politicians aspire for so eagerly in so many political situations. The politicians want a peaceful situation between man and nation, but at the same time, because of too much attachment for material domination, there is illusion and fearfulness. Therefore, the politicians' peace conferences cannot bring about peace in society. It can only be done by hearing the subject matter described in the Srimad Bhagavatam about the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. The foolish politicians may go on holding peace and summit conferences for hundreds of years, but they will fail to achieve success. Until we reach the stage of re-establishing our lost relation with Krishna, the illusion of accepting the body as a self will prevail, and thus fearfulness will also prevail. As for the validity of Sri Krishna as a Supreme Personality of Godhead, there are hundreds and thousands of evidences from revealed scriptures, and there are hundreds and thousands of evidences from personal experiences of devotees in various places like Vrindavan, Navadip, and Puri. Even the Kaumudi dictionary, the synonyms of Krishna are given as a son of Yashoda and the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Parabrahman. The conclusion is that simply by hearing the Vedic literature Srimad Bhagavatam, one can have direct connection with the Supreme Personality of Godhead Sri Krishna, and thereby one can attain the highest perfection of life by transcending worldly miseries, illusion, and fearfulness. Here, Kaumudi refers to Nama Kaumudi, and Nama Kaumudi is actually a book about the process of chanting Krishna's holy names. It was written after Sridhar Swami's appearance, after his Bhavartha Deepika was presented. And it presents a direct meaning of Krishna, which appears to be taken from dictionaries, various abhidanas, various dictionaries. These are practical tests for one who was actually given a submissive hearing to the readings of the Srimad Bhagavatam. So throughout Prabhupada's writings, he talks about various tests with which we can actually understand whether we are progressing in Krishna consciousness or not. 8. Sasamhita, okay. Sasamhitam Bhagavatim Kritvanukramya Chatmajam Shukam Adhyapayamasa Nivrittin Niratam Munihi. The great sage Vyasadeva, after compiling the Srimad Bhagavatam and revising it, taught it to his own son, Sri Shukadeva Goswami, who was already engaged in self-realization. Achyutanam Prabhu.
Hare Prabhu. Prabhu, this moha about the present, how a person in conditioned soul in material world is illusion. It's in the sense that he's accepting body as the self. All illusions.
Yeah, there are so many illusions. We have delusions of who we are, and we have delusions of what we possess or who we possess. So these are all very complicated delusions. Okay, let's resume. Srimad Bhagavatam is a natural commentation on the Brahma Sutras compiled by the same author. This Brahma Sutra or Vedanta Sutra is meant for those who are engaged, who are already engaged in self-realization. Srimad Bhagavatam is so made that one becomes at once engaged in the path of self-realization simply by hearing the topics. Although it is especially meant for the Paramahamsas or those who are totally engaged in self-realization, it works into the depths of the hearts of those who may be worldly men, provided they are submissive. Worldly men are all engaged in sense gratification, but even such men will find in this Vedic literature a remedial measure for their material diseases. Material diseases refer to lust, anger, greed, pride, envy, delusion. Shukadeva Goswami was a liberated soul from the very beginning of his birth, and his father taught him Srimad Bhagavatam. Amongst mundane scholars, there is some diversity of opinion as to the date of compilation of Srimad Bhagavatam. It is, however, certain from the text of the Bhagavatam that it was compiled before the disappearance of King Parikshit and after the departure of Lord Krishna. When Maharaj Parikshit was ruling the world as the king of Bharatavarsha, he chastised the personality of Kali. According to revealed scriptures and astrological calculation, the age of Kali is in its 5,000th year. Therefore, Srimad Bhagavatam was compiled not less than 5,000 years ago. Mahabharata was compiled before Srimad Bhagavatam, and the Puranas were compiled before Mahabharata. That is an estimation of the date of compilation of the different Vedic literatures. The synopsis of Srimad Bhagavatam was given before the detailed description under the instruction of Narada. The first edition of Srimad Bhagavatam that was found in the Puranas before compiling Mahabharata, that had a synopsis of the teachings of Bhagavatam. But after Narada Muni, after the Puranas were compiled and Mahabharata was compiled, Vedanta Sutra was also compiled. Then when Vyasa was dejected, then Narada Muni met him and gave him a detailed description of how it is actually meant to be presented. Then he produced a revised edition, a second edition. And the second edition is what we have right now. Srimad Bhagavatam is a science for following the path of Nivritti Marga. The path of Pravritti Marga was condemned by Narada. That path is a natural inclination for all conditioned souls. The theme of Srimad Bhagavatam is the cure of the materialistic disease of the human being, or stopping completely the pangs of material existence. 9. Shaunaka Vacha. Savai Nivritti Nirada Sarvatropekshako Munihi Kasyava Bhati Metam Atmarama Samabhya Sat. Shri Shaunaka asked Sudha Goswami. Shri Shukadeva Goswami was already on the path of self-realization, and thus he was pleased with his own self. So why did he take the trouble to undergo the study of such a vast literature? For the people in general, the highest perfection of life is to cease from material activities and be fixed on the path of self-realization. Those who take pleasure in sense enjoyment, or those who are fixed in material bodily welfare work, are called karmis. So the first type are sinful people. The second type are the pious people. Prabhupada generally refers to both of them as karmis. But he also recognizes that technically it's only the second category who are fit to be called karmis. The first category are more appropriately referred to as vikarmis. Out of thousands and millions of such karmis, one may become an Atma-rama by self-realization. Atma means self, and Arama means to take pleasure. Everyone is searching after the highest pleasure, but the standard of pleasure of one may be different from the standard of another. Therefore, the standard of pleasure enjoyed by the karmis is different from that of the Atma-ramas. The Atma-ramas are completely indifferent to material enjoyment in every respect. Srila Shukadeva Goswami had already attained that stage, and still he was attracted to undergo the trouble of studying the great Bhagavatam literature. This means that Srimad Bhagavatam is a postgraduate study, even for the Atma-ramas, who have surpassed all the studies of Vedic knowledge. 10. Suto Vacha. Atmaramascha munayo nirgrantha apyurukrume kurvantyahai tukim bhaktim itham bhuta guno harihi. Suta Goswami said, all different varieties of Atmaramas, those who take pleasure in the Atma or spirit self, especially those established on the path of self-realization, though freed from all kinds of material bondage, desire to render unalloyed devotion service unto the personality of Godhead. This means that the Lord possesses transcendental qualities and therefore can attract everyone, including liberated souls. Nirgranthaha refers to those who are transcendental to the granthas, to the scriptures. That is stated in Bhagavad Gita. Yada te moha kalilam buddhir vyatitarishyati tadagantas nirvedam shrotavyasya shrutasya cha. When your intelligence goes beyond the forest of delusion, then you would have attained detachment from all that has been heard and all that is to be heard. Yadva, another meaning. Granthireva granthaha. The knot is referred to as grantha, and nirgrantha refers to those who are freed from the knot of the heart. Nivrittaha krodha hankara rupo granthir yesham te. Those who are freed from the knot in the form of anger and false ego. Nivritta hridaya granthaya ityarthaha. In other words, these Atmaramas, their hearts are not bound to material existence. Nanu muktanam kim bhaktya ityadi sarva akshepa parihararthamaha itsambhuta guna iti. Question: why would liberated souls have anything to do with bhakti, devotion service to Lord Krishna? Like this, one may have various objections. And to deal with all this, to dispose of all these objections, he says, Itham bhuta guno harihi. This is the very nature of Lord Hari, that he is attractive to everyone. We heard Srimad Bhagavatam is graduation study, post-graduation is Chaitanya Charitamrita. So what is the question?
But here it is mentioned Srimad Bhagavatam is post-graduation in the last verse. Purport.
Right. Prabhupada generally explained Bhagavad Gita as undergraduate, Bhagavatam as postgraduate, and Chaitanya Charitamrita as research study or something like that. Dissertation, something like that, he says. Okay, let's move on. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explained this Atmarama Shloka very vividly before his chief devotee, Srila Sanatana Goswami. He points out 11 factors in the shloka, namely Atmarama, Atmaramaha, Munayaha, Nirgranthaha, Api cha, Urukrame, Kurvanti, Ahaitukim, Bhaktim, Ithambhuta Gunaha, and Harihi. According to the Vishwaprakasha Sanskrit dictionary, there are 7 synonyms for the word Atma, which are as follows: Brahman, the absolute truth; body, mind; endeavor, endurance; intelligence; and personal habits. So then, Atmaramaha will then refer to those who find pleasure in the absolute truth, or those who find pleasure in the body, or those who find pleasure in the mind, or those who take pleasure in endeavoring, those who find pleasure in being of those who find pleasure in cultivating endurance, those who find pleasure in their intelligence, and those who take pleasure in their personal habits. The word munaya refers to those who are thoughtful, those who are grave and silent, ascetics, the persistent, mendicants, sages, and saints. The word nirgranthaha conveys these ideas. One who is liberated from nations, one who has no connection with scriptural injunction, that is, who is freed from the obligations of the rules and regulations mentioned in the revealed scriptures, like ethics, Vedas, philosophy, psychology, and metaphysics. In other words, the fools, illiterate, urchins, etc., who have no connection with religious, with regulative principles. So those who have themselves freed themselves from having to be obliged to the Vedic rules and regulations, etc., these are the ones. A capitalist and also one who is penniless. So the idea is that you may have an Atma Rama who is very thoughtful and who may be liberated from nations, or who is the lowest of the low, who has no connection with Vedic scriptures, but even he will be attracted by Lord Hari. So the meanings have to be taken like that. Achyutanam Prabhu.
Prabhuji, who compiles these dictionaries? Like,
The dictionaries are compiled by scholars.
so why so many dictionaries? Like, is not there a standard one which all can follow
In
for all?
every language, there are so many dictionaries.
Yeah, but like in English, Oxford is famous, or Merriam-Webster is there, like that.
There are so many. In English also, there are so many standard dictionaries. Oxford is there, Collins is there, Merriam-Webster is there. So many other Chambers is there. So many are there.
So they are
Temporary-
almost identical.
No, similar. They deal with different dialects. They may deal with different usages. Some of them may be brief. Some of them may be very detailed. In every language, it's already there. So why can't it be in such a comprehensive language as Sanskrit?
Okay, bro.
According to the Shabdakosha dictionary, the affix ni is used in the sense of certainty, counting, building, and forbiddance. And the word grantha is used in the sense of wealth, thesis, vocabulary, etc. So it can, nirgranthaha can mean, if you take the meaning of forbiddance, a person who does not have wealth. But it can also refer to one who certainly has wealth, or one who is building his wealth, etc. Grantha also means thesis. So a person who is composing his thesis, or one who has not composed any thesis, that meaning also is possible, like that. The word urukrama is the source of the word urukrame, means the one whose activities are glorious. Krama means step. This word urukrama specifically indicates the Lord's incarnation as Vamana, who covered the whole universe by immeasurable steps. Lord Vishnu is powerful, and his activities are so glorious that he has created the spiritual world by his internal potency and the material world by his external potency. By his all-pervading features, he is everywhere present as the supreme truth. And in his personal feature, is always present in his transcendental abode of Goloka Vrindavan, where he displays his transcendental pastimes in all variegatedness. His activities cannot be compared to anyone else's, and therefore the word Urukrama is just applicable to him only. According to Sanskrit verbal arrangement, Kurvanti refers to doing things for someone else. It refers to performing an activity for somebody else's benefit. Like, for instance, in the technical sense, pachati refers to cooking for somebody else, and pachate refers to cooking for oneself in the technical sense. Similarly, kurvanti refers to doing things for someone else. So, bhaktim kurvanti, urukrame bhaktim kurvanti means that these personalities execute devotional service to Lord Urukrama for his pleasure. Therefore, it means that the Atma Ramas render devotional service unto the Lord not for personal interest but for the pleasure of the Lord Urukrama. Okay, then he comes to the word Ahaitukim. Ahaitukim. Ahaitukim is coming from the word Haitukim. Means not. And Haitukim in this context means alloyed. So Ahaitukim means unalloyed. But Haitukim itself is coming from the word Hetu. Hetu means a cause or a motive. Hetu means causal. There are many causes for one's sense satisfaction. That means there are many motives with which we pursue sense satisfaction. And they can be chiefly classified as material enjoyment, mystic powers, and liberation, which are generally desired by progressive persons. As far as material enjoyments are concerned, they are innumerable, and the materialists are eager to increase them more and more because they are under the illusory energy. There is no end to the list of material enjoyments, nor can anyone in the material universe have all of them. As far as the mystic powers are concerned, they are 8 in all, such as to become the minutest in form, to become weightless, to have anything one desires, to lord it over the material nature, to control other living beings, to throw earthly globes in outer space, etc. These mystic powers are mentioned in the Bhagavatam. The forms of liberation are 5 in number. Therefore, unalloyed devotion means service to the Lord without desire for the above mentioned personal benefits. So, ahaitukim bhaktim means with no desire for bhakti, mukti, or siddhi. And the powerful personality of God, Shri Krishna, can be fully satisfied by such unalloyed devotees, free from all sorts of desires for personal benefit. Unalloyed devotion service of the Lord progresses in different stages. Practice of devotion service in the material field is of 81 different qualities. That's because it is originally 3. Sattvic, Rajasic, Tamasic, Sattva, Rajas, Tamas. But Sattva, Rajas, Tamas can be mixed with Sattva, Rajas, Tamas. So 3 times 3 is 9. There are 9 types of devotional service. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, and so on. So 9 types of bhakti mixed with 9 leads to 81. And above such activities is the transcendental practice of devotional service, which is one and is called sadhana bhakti. So this is referring to pure sadhana bhakti. When unalloyed practice of sadhana bhakti is matured into transcendental love for the Lord, the transcendental loving service of the Lord begins gradually developing into 9 progressive stages of loving service under the headings of attachment, bhava, love, prema, affection, pranaya. Like that it goes on. Feeling, affinity, adherence, following ecstasy, and intense feelings of separation. The attachment of an inactive devotee, Shanta, Bhakta, develops up to the stage of transcendental love of God. Attachment of an active servitor develops up to the stage of adherence, and that of a friendly devotee develops up to the stage of following. And the same is also the case for the parental devotees. Devotees in conjugal love develop ecstasy up to the stage of intense feelings of separation. These are some of the features of unalloyed devotional service of the Lord. Achyutanam Prabhu.
Prabhuji, in 2 paragraphs above in this purport, Srila Prabhupada is writing, there is no end to the list of material enjoyments, nor can anyone in the material universe have all of them. If someone questions why is it not possible to have all of them, what can be the answer?
Because everybody is bound by Prakriti, Kala and Karma. So one single person, one single living entity cannot experience all of them.
I still did not get it through.
Okay, at the very least, I can only enjoy within the domain created by my previous karma.
Okay.
So how can I experience all the opportunities for bliss in this universe? I'm already bound by my own karma. So it's not possible. According to the Haribhakti Sudhodaya, the import of the word itham bhutaha, itham bhuta guno harihi, itham bhuta is complete bliss. Transcendental bliss in the realization of impersonal Brahman becomes comparable to the scanty water contained in the pit made by a cow's hoof. It is nothing compared with the ocean of bliss of the vision of the personality of Godhead. The personal form of Krishna is so attractive that it comprehends all attraction, all bliss, and all tastes, rasas. These attractions are so strong that, emphasis, no one wants to exchange them for material enjoyment, mystic powers, and liberation. End of emphasis. There is no need of logical arguments in support of this statement, but out of one's own nature, one becomes attracted by the qualities of Lord Sri Krishna. You must know for certain that the qualities of the Lord have nothing to do with mundane qualities. All of them are full of bliss, knowledge, and eternity. There are innumerable qualities of the Lord, and one is attracted by one quality while another is attracted by another. Great sages, such as the 4 bachelor devotees, Sanaka, Sanatana, Sananda, and Sanatkumar, were attracted by the fragrance of flowers and tulsi leaves, anointed with the pulp of sandalwood offered at the lotus feet of the Lord. Similarly, Shukadeva Goswami was attracted by the transcendental pastimes of the Lord. Shukadeva Goswami was already situated in the liberated stage, yet he was attracted by the pastimes of the Lord. This proves that the quality of his pastimes has nothing to do with material affinity. That means his pastimes are not products of attachment to matter. Similarly, the young cowherd damsels were attracted by the bodily features of the Lord, and Rukmini was attracted by hearing about the glories of the Lord. Lord Krishna attracts even the mind of the goddess of fortune. He attracts in special cases the minds of all young girls. In special cases, meaning if those young girls are submissive to him and submissive to the Lord's associates in conjugal love. He attracts the minds of the elderly ladies by maternal affection. He attracts the mind of the male in the humors, in the flavors, the emotions of servitude and friendship. The word Harihi conveys various meanings, but the chief import of the word is that he, the Lord, vanquishes everything inauspicious and takes away the mind of the devotee by awarding pure transcendental love. By remembering the Lord in acute distress, one can be free from all varieties of miseries and anxieties. Gradually, the Lord vanquishes all obstacles on the path of devotional service of a pure devotee, and the result of 9 devotional activities, such as hearing and chanting, becomes manifested. By his personal features and transcendental attributes, the Lord attracts all psychological activities of a pure devotee. Such is the attractive power of Lord Krishna. The attraction is so powerful that a pure devotee never hankers for any of the 4 principles of religion. That means dharma, artha, kama, moksha. These are the attractive features of the transcendental attributes of the Lord. And adding to this the words api and cha, one can increase the imports unlimitedly. According to Sanskrit grammar, there are 7 synonyms for the word api. So by interpreting each and every word of the shloka, one can see unlimited numbers of transcendental qualities of Lord Krishna that attract the mind of a pure devotee. This itself is only a summary of a whole chapter in Chaitanya Charitamrita. That chapter has been, this is a very brief summary. A more detailed summary you'll find in teachings of Lord Chaitanya. Okay, just give me a minute. Let me just drink some water and come. On Radhavati, bro.
Prabhu, in that 8th verse, purport, Prabhupada writes that it appears from the text of Bhagavatam that it was compiled before after the departure of Krishna and before the departure of Parikshit. So the text he writes. So is there some particular text in which it is evident that it was written, it was compiled after Krishna's departure and before Parikshit? Right?
It is however certain from the text of the Bhagavatam that it was compiled before the disappearance of King Parikshit and after the departure of Lord Krishna. So what is your question here?
Is there some text by which we understand that it was compiled after departure of Krishna and before?
Yeah, first canto itself. After Krishna disappears, then Parikshit appears. I mean, Parikshit was born even when Krishna protected him. But Krishna disappears and then Parikshit grows up. And then before, and then Parikshit, he hears the entire Bhagavatam. And then after that, Suta Goswami speaks. And then Vyasadeva writes. All of that we learn from the first canto itself. First canto, 12th canto.
He was writing simultaneously when that was going on the first time.
What does that mean? He was writing simultaneously.
Means that was going on and that time he was writing, or before the past time he wrote this Bhagavatam.
First of all, Vyasadeva already saw it.
Hmm.
And he composed it. Then he taught Shukadeva Goswami. And then Shukadeva Goswami taught Parikshit. So what Shukadeva Goswami taught Parikshit is the subject from second canto to somewhere in the first half of 12th canto. The remaining portions were presented by Suta Goswami. And then the first 3 verses are given by Vyasadeva. So now we have the complete text, everything.
Okay.
So it was finally compiled after Krishna disappeared and after Parikshit disappeared also. Final version. But yes, now you can say the compilation work began before. Eleven. Harer Gunakshiptam Matir Bhagavan Badarayani Adhyagan Mahadakhyanam Nityam Vishnu Janapriyaha. Srila Shukadeva Goswami, son of Srila Vyasadeva, was not only transcendently powerful, he was also very dear to the devotees of the Lord. Thus, he underwent the study of this great narration, Srimad Bhagavatam. ननु भक्तिं कुर्वन्तु नाम एतत् शास्त्र अभ्यासे शुकस्य किं कारणम् इति अतः हरेरिति. All right, this is an objection. All right, Shukadev, fine, he was attracted, so let him engage in various forms of bhakti. Why did he have to engage in extensive study of this book? Why this Shastra Abhyasa? Abhyasa has a sense of study, but study in the sense of repeated study. In the traditional system of education, Shastra Abhyasa, Vidya Abhyasa refers to repeated study. You study something means you study it again and again and again. So why did he have to do that? So anticipating that objection, the current verse is spoken. Shukadev became dear to the Vishnu Janas by speaking on Srimad Bhagavatam and so on. He desired the association of Vishnu Janas, devotees of Lord Vishnu. This is the answer to the question that was asked, Tasya Putro Mahayogi. How is it that Shukadev Goswami became engaged in explaining Srimad Bhagavatam? According to the Brahma-vaivarta Purana, Srila Shukadev Goswami was a liberated soul. Even within the womb of his mother, Srila Vyasadeva knew that the child after his birth would not stay at home. Therefore, he, Vyasadeva, impressed upon him the synopsis of the Bhagavatam so that the child could be made attached to the transcendental activities of the Lord. After his birth, the child was still more educated in the subject of the Bhagavatam by recitation of the actual poems. The idea is that generally the liberated souls are attached to the feature of impersonal Brahman with a monistic view of becoming one with the Supreme Whole. But by the association of pure devotees like Vyasadeva, even the liberated soul becomes attracted to the transcendental qualities of the Lord. By the mercy of Sri Narada, Srila Vyasadeva was able to narrate the great epic of Srimad Bhagavatam, and by the mercy of Vyasadeva, Srila Shukadeva Goswami was able to grasp the import. The transcendental qualities of the Lord are so attractive that Srila Shukadeva Goswami became detached from being completely absorbed in impersonal Brahman and positively took up the personal activity of the Lord. Practically, he was thrown from the impersonal conception of the Absolute, thinking within himself that he had simply wasted so much time in devoting himself to the impersonal feature of the Supreme. Or in other words, he realized more transcendental bliss with the personal feature than the impersonal. And from that time, not only did he himself become very dear to the Vishnu Janas or the devotees of the Lord, but also the Vishnu Janas became very dear to him. The devotees of the Lord who do not wish to kill the individuality of the living entities and who desire to become one, who desire to become personal servitors of the Lord, do not very much like the impersonalists, and similarly the impersonalists who desire to become one with the Supreme are unable to evaluate the devotees of the Lord. Thus, from time immemorial, these two transcendental pilgrims have sometimes been competitors. In other words, each of them likes to keep separate from the other because of the ultimate personal and impersonal realization. Therefore, it appears that Srila Shukadeva Goswami also had no liking for the devotees before. But after he himself became a saturated devotee, he desired always the transcendental association of the Vishnu Janas. And the Vishnu Janas also liked this association once he became a personal Bhagavata. Thus, both the son and the father were completely cognizant of transcendental knowledge and Brahman before. And afterwards, both of them became absorbed in the personal features of the Supreme Lord. The question as to how Shukadeva Goswami was attracted by the narration of the Bhagavatam is thus completely answered by this shloka. 12. Parikshitotha Rajarsher Janma Karma Vilapanam Samstham cha Pandaputranam Vakshye Krishna Kathodayam. Suta Goswami thus addressed the rishis, headed by Shaunaka. Now I shall begin the transcendental narration of the Lord Sri Krishna and topics of the birth, activities, and deliverance of King Parikshit, the sage amongst kings, as well as topics of the renunciation of the worldly order by the sons of Pandu. Mohan Radhapati Guru.
Prabhu, in the beginning, in the second chapter of Bhagavatam, first canto, we read that Sukadeva Goswami, as soon as he was born, he left home. And here we read from Brahma-vaibhava Puran that he was educated from childhood in the pastimes of Lord Vasudeva. So we hear in some lectures that there are two Sukadeva Goswamis. Is it correct? He expanded something like that.
There was one Shukadev Goswami and there was another Shukadev Das Adhikari, who got married. But this, I don't understand what is the confusion here. When he was in his mother's womb itself, he was impressed with the synopsis of the Bhagavatam. And then when he had gone, after he took birth and he left, then he was attracted. He was attracted by the recitation of the actual poems of Bhagavatam.
Okay.
Then he studied the entire Bhagavatam.
So one of them, he stayed at home. Is it right?
Yeah, I think that happened a little later. It's not clear to me when. This comes in some Purana, but I haven't examined it.
Prabhu, so same personality split into two, or like they were
No, that
twins,
was another person. That was a different person.
but he was son of Vyasadeva?
Yeah, that was another son.
And he did not study Bhagavatam, Sukadeva Das Adhikari.
We don't come across, he might, even if he had studied, he did not become, he did not become like Shukadev Goswami. Okay. Yad anyat prishtam parikshitah prayopaveshena shravanam katham. It was previously asked, another question was asked. How is it that King Parikshit had taken up the vow of fasting till death? Tasya janma mahascharyam ityadina tasya uttaram vaktumaha parikshita. His birth was astonishing. He was such a great soul. So why did he have to fast till death? This question was asked. So the answer to that is now presented. Vilayanam can mean muktim or mrityum. How did Parikshit? I will speak about many things, including how Parikshit got delivered, how he got liberated, or how he left his body. Samstham, Mahaprasthanam. I will also talk about how the Pandavas attained their Mahaprasthana, how they went for their great journey. The great journey is the journey of going towards one's death voluntarily. Shri Krishna Kathanam Udayo Yatha Bhavati Tatha. And I will do it in such a manner that always topics of Lord Krishna keep coming up. Lord Krishna is so kind to the fallen souls that he personally incarnates himself amongst the different kinds of living entities and takes part with them in daily activities. Any historical fact, old or new, which has a connection with the activities of the Lord is to be understood as a transcendental narration of the Lord. Without Krishna, all the supplementary literatures like the Puranas and Mahabharata are simply stories or historical facts. But with Krishna, they become transcendental. And when we hear of them, we at once become transcendently related with the Lord. Srimad Bhagavatam is also a Purana. But the special significance of this Purana is that the activities of the Lord are central and not just supplementary historical facts. Srimad Bhagavatam is thus recommended by Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as a spotless Purana. There is a class of less intelligent devotees of the Bhagavata Purana who desire to relish at once the activities of the Lord narrated in the 10th canto without first understanding the primary cantos. They are under the false impression that the other cantos are not concerned with Krishna, and thus more foolishly than intelligently they take to the reading of the 10th canto. These readers are specifically told herein that the other cantos of the Bhagavatam are as important as the 10th canto. No one should try to go into the matters of the 10th canto without having thoroughly understood the purport of the other 9 cantos. Krishna and his pure devotees like the Pandavas are on the same plane. Krishna is not without his devotees in all the rasas, and the pure devotees like the Pandavas are not without Krishna. The devotees and the Lord are interlinked and they cannot be separated. Therefore, talks about them are all Krishna Katha or topics of the Lord. So, the speciality of Bhagavatam is that even though topics about the Pandavas are brought up, the Pandavas are discussed along with their devotional relationship with Krishna, so that Krishna Bhakti comes in all discussions. So it is not just like a mere dry historical report. Okay, now let me take up this. So Srila Jiva Goswami notes that having realized the Abhideya, Vyasadeva then began to compose the Satvata Samhita, the Vaishnava literature known as Srimad Bhagavatam. He understood that when one engages directly in Bhakti Yoga, then all the anarthas are destroyed. And that Bhakti Yoga here refers to sadhana bhakti, characterized by Shravanam, Kirtanam, etc. It is the Bhakti Yoga that is brought out here is not Prema Bhakti. The execution of sadhana bhakti depends on instructions, but love of Godhead is dependent on the Lord's mercy. But because sadhana bhakti leads to prema bhakti towards the Supreme Lord, therefore it directly neutralizes the anarthas. It is not dependent on anything outside of Bhakti Yoga. That is noted in the 11th canto and in the 10th canto. On the other hand, Jnana and other systems, they are dependent on Bhakti. Another explanation. The direct mitigation of the calamity of material existence happens, direct meaning the uninterrupted or immediate neutralization of the anarthas happens through this. He also explains Sridhar Swami's statement. Krishna Chakravarti Thakur says that Vyasadeva, he realized the disease of the conditioned souls, the spiritual disease of the conditioned souls, and now he realized what was the medicine to cure them. Atra darshaneyam kramogyayaha. One should understand that the following sequence is what was seen by him in Samadhi. Prathamam Bhagavantam Apashyat. First he saw Bhagavan. पूर्णेति पदप्रयोगात् अंशान् विना कथं पूर्णत्वम् इति तद् अंशान् पुरुषावतार गुणावतारादीन् अपश्यत्. And it clearly says that he saw Purusham Purnam. The word Purna, the usage of the word Purna indicates that he also saw the various plenary portions of the Lord, because without the plenary portions, how can he be considered to be Purna, complete? So it indicates that he saw the Purushavataras, Gunavataras, and so on also. Purtimatvam Purnatvam iti Purti Rupam Brahma Apashyat. He also saw Brahman, Tat Kanti Bhutam, Vimalotkarshanyadyανeka Prabhedavatim Chichaktim Apashyat. He also saw the splendor of the Supreme Lord in the form of the spiritual potencies, who are many, with names such as Vimala, Utkarshini, and so on. These are all different Lakshmis or potencies of the Lord. Prishthe Bahiranga Maya Shaktim Apashyat. Then he saw that behind the Supreme Lord was the external potency, Maya Shakti. Tasyastan Moha Nivartikam Sarvopi Mahatim Chichakti Mukhya. Bhakti Rupam Shaktim Anugraha Shakti Vilasa Bhutam Bhagavatopi Vashayitrim Bhagavatyeva Apashyat. And then he saw that the greatest potency which can neutralize the delusion caused by the Maya Shakti, which is the primary spiritual potency in the form of Bhakti Shakti. He saw this Bhakti Shakti, referring to Bhakti, the potency of Bhakti to Bhagavan, which is actually a form of the sportive mercy potency of the Lord, which can even bring Bhagavan under control. Tadetat sarvam swayam drishtva ajanato lokasyarte satvata samitam etam sarvatattva prakashikam Sri Bhagavatahyam chakre. So he saw all of this, and then for the sake of the ignorant mass, he composed this Satvata Samhita, this book which reveals all these truths, named Sri Bhagavatam. Isho Swatantra Sindhu Sarva Vyapyai Evahi Jivodhinaschit Kanopi Swopadhir Vyapi Shaktikaha Aneko Vidyayopatas Tyakta Vidyopi Karhichit Mayatvachit Pradhanam Cha Vidya Vidyeti Satridha. So the Supreme Lord is independent, and he is an ocean of consciousness, and he is all pervasive. The Jiva is independent, and though he is just a portion of spiritual knowledge, he has his own designations. He has the capacity to expand through his energy. The Jiva is many, and the Jivas are contained by avidya. Sometimes he gives up avidya. Maya is made up of achit pradhana. It's not conscious, derived from pradhana. Avidya, vidya, vidyeti satridha. So Maya is of three types. One is pradhana, another is Avidya, another is Vidya. Ishvara Jiva Maya Jagatam Swarupa Shaktir Bhaktescha Swarupa Lakshana Pramanyadikam Vedastuti Vyakhyayam Yakti Bhavishyati. And the nature of Ishvara, Jiva, Maya, Jagat, the Lord's personal potency, Bhakti, the primary characteristics, the means to know about them, and so on. All of this will be revealed in the commentary on the Veda Stuti. Baladev Vidyabhushan quotes from other scriptures to more or less say the same thing. तस्य आनुषंगिकं गुणमाह शोकेति. This freedom from shoka, moha, bhaya is only an incidental result, not samskaropi, samsaro. The word Krishna indicates that the original Supreme Personality of Godhead is being referred to here. And then he quotes from Nama Kaumadi, which we already saw. Yes, here it is. In line with the Brahma Vaivarta Purana, from the time he was in the womb, he understood that Sri Krishna, being independent, can dispel Maya. So then he wanted to fix himself on the Lord, but then sorry. But then, sorry. Vedavyasa brought Sri Krishna, and then Shuka was born, and then he went out alone. Tatra Shri Vyasadevastu tam vashikartam, and then in order to bring Shukadev under control, that Dhananya Sadhanam Shri Bhagavatam eva gyatva, and he knew that the only way to accomplish that is Srimad Bhagavatam. Tad gunatishaya prakashamayams tadiya padya visheshan kathanchit shravayatva. And then he had him hear specific verses of the Bhagavatam, which brought about Krishna's transcendental qualities very excellently. In that way, he agitated the mind of Shukadeva Goswami. And then he completely taught him Srimad Bhagavatam. So in this way, the excellent glory of Srimad Bhagavatam is brought out. Krishna Kathodayam. The subject matter is brought out in such a manner that Krishna Katha is predominant. And the questions are also directly deal with Krishna Katha. Okay. I'll stop with that. Any other questions?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Okay.
So you told about the recompilation of Bhagavatam, like once Vyasadeva told to Sukadeva Goswami, and then like after the departure of Krishna and Parikshit Maharaj, it was recompiled, the three Bhagavatams together basically. So
there were no three Bhagavatams. It is three different phases of one Bhagavatam.
Yes, bro. So it was also done by Vyasadeva himself, or someone compiled?
No, he compiled it.
Vyasadeva himself.
Yeah. Okay. Vanchakal Padara Vaishya Pasandrapya Vachapatitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavyo Namo Namaha.